Stalking changes a victim's life. It makes them give up any feelings of security because the stalker can show up at any time.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most terrifying and tragic examples of celeb lives ruined by stalkers.
Decades later, many celebrities are still targeted by stalkers. But Rebecca's murder led to California passing the first anti-stalking law in the nation.
Selena Gomez. In 2011, the young star had received death threats from Thomas Brodnicki after he had confided to his therapist that he had conversations with God about killing Gomez.
Brodnicki made multiple trips to Gomez's studio, insisted that he would not leave Los Angeles until meeting her, and has a criminal history of stalking.
He had also traveled to Chicago and Los Angeles to attempt to make contact with her. Understandably, she then filed a temporary restraining order against the man.
With a restraining order in effect, Gomez will continue her tour. Great news for her fans, many of whom were supporting her yesterday. We Protect Selena was a trending topic on Twitter.
Stalking charges were brought to Brodnicki, but those were eventually dropped as a judge ruled there wasn't enough evidence and he was released from custody. Eventually, a 3-year restraining order was placed on Brodnicki to stay at least 100 meters away from Gomez and her family.
Selena Gomez and I, perhaps unbeknownst to her at her tender age, are in fact the holy chosen ones of God.
Drew Barrymore. The well-known actress and daytime talk show host was on stage at an event in New York City where she was interviewing Renee Rapp when suddenly a man named Chad Michael Busteau called out to Barrymore and proceeded towards the stage.
I'm Chad Michael Busteau, you know who I am. I need to see you at some point while I'm here in New York City.
He was stopped by security and the two women temporarily left the stage. After this confrontation, Busteau was in the Hamptons looking for Barrymore's home, where he was arrested on stalking charges.
I can see how she can be afraid. I can see some misunderstandings.
The criminal complaint says Busteau caused reasonable fear of material harm to the physical health, safety, or property of Drew Barrymore.
While speaking to reporters after being released, he claims that he and Barrymore have a connection and was looking for help with regards to a legal action.
He was trying to get the attention of the actress and talk show host and other influential women for a lawsuit he's filed.
Taylor Swift. Being one of the most popular artists on the planet sometimes brings unwanted attention, and unfortunately for Swift, she's had multiple stalkers throughout her career.
Table emailed Fox 32 Chicago with links to his website and social media pages where he expresses his obsession with Swift.
I propose to Taylor Swift, everybody.
Just before she was set to play in Nashville, Mitchell Tabell was able to gain access to her Nashville condo building and had made his way into the VIP section just before Swift was set to take the stage before being escorted out of the venue.
He was able to work his way through security, and he was found in a VIP section at the stadium in Nashville where she was performing, and was escorted out of the venue right before she took the stage.
He was later arrested on a number of charges. Several years prior, another man, Eric Swarbrick, stalks the singer, showing up multiple times to her record label's offices with threatening letters, and he was indicted on federal charges.
Too often when there are these tragedies, we look back at the signs and wish we would have done something, and we ask, why didn't we step in? And in this case, we saw the signs and we felt we needed to do what we did, and we did step in.
Sandra Bullock. The award-winning actress has had a few terrifying stalking incidents during her career, but the incident that occurred in 2014 was a particularly harrowing experience.
She wakes up, hears a noise, and she sees a stranger in her house.
In June, Joshua Corbett broke into Bullock's home early in the morning. Upon seeing an intruder in her house, Bullock locked her bedroom door and hid in her closet. She proceeded to call 911 and remained hidden there until police arrived and arrested Corbett.
I went to my closet. I have a safe door in my bedroom, and I've locked it, and I'm locked in the closet right now.
He was carrying magazine pictures of Bullock and letters to her. Corbett would plead no contest to stalking charges and would take his own life a few years later during a standoff with police.
The SWAT team was called in, and then just before 1 o'clock, when they entered the house, they found Corbett dead There was no officer involved shooting. The officers fired no shot.
Lily Allen. Shortly after the singer had released her second album, she was contacted on Twitter by a man named Alex Gray, who claimed he wrote her song The Fear. He would go on to send her a number of threatening letters and emails. Eventually, he broke into her house, waking Allen in the middle of the night, screaming at her and stealing a purse.
He kept sort of shouting at me, but he was very focused on me. It was really confusing because it was loud and it was aggressive, and there was lots of sort of gesticulating going on, and he had something under his jumper.
Following the frightening event, he was caught and arrested. During the whole ordeal, Allen had commented on how the justice system and the police had failed her, as for years her claims weren't taken seriously.
No, he's been let down. I've been let down. And how many other people are being let down?
Jody Foster. John Hinckley Jr. developed an unhealthy devotion to actress Jody Foster after watching her performance in the film Taxi Driver.
What's your name?
Easy.
Well, that's not any kind of name.
Oh, that's easy to remember.
Yeah, but what's your real name?
I don't like my real name.
He would follow her trail as she moved around the country, and when he found that she would be attending Yale University, he enrolled in a course at the school. He attempted to contact her through mail and by telephone.
Without getting specific, was he threatening, amorous? What was he like?
I'm not allowed to say. I believe that it's, that the letters were assumed to have been, love type letters.
He decided he would need to perform a grand gesture to get her attention, which involved attempting to assassinate newly elected President Ronald Reagan. Hinckley managed to wound several people in the attempt.
Well, for the Reagan family, for the Brady family, for the families of the other two victims, for Jody Foster, I apologize for what I've done, for what I did 41 years ago.
Foster hasn't spoken much on the incident, saying that she doesn't want to be associated with the event and that it was scarring. George Harrison. As one of the members of the Beatles, Harrison was renowned for his guitar playing, something that carried over to his solo career after the band broke up.
I got my mind set on you.
On December 30th, 1999, Michael Abram broke into Harrison's home. He believed that Harrison was a sorcerer and was possessing him. He was on a mission from God to kill the former Beatle.
But the obsession continued, and George Harrison became the focus of Abram's deluded thoughts. He believed Harrison was a sorcerer taking possession of his soul. He thought he had a God-given mission to destroy the former Beatle.
Armed with a knife, Abram attacked Harrison, stabbing him more than 40 times. Olivia, Harrison's wife, managed to temporarily subdue Abram by hitting him with a fire poker and a lamp before other staff could restrain the attacker.
Police say the intruder broke in through a kitchen window. He was carrying a 7-inch knife and managed to stab George Harrison and his wife, Olivia, in a 10-minute rampage round their mansion before being overpowered by staff.
Christina Grimmie. She first garnered attention on YouTube, where she would upload covers of popular songs.
All we need is someone to lean on. All we need is someone to lean on.
She later appeared on The Voice, and while she didn't win the competition, it did raise her profile, as she signed with Island Records and began touring. Just after a performance in Orlando, Florida, Grimmie was meeting fans when she was approached by Kevin James Loibl. He had developed an unhealthy infatuation with the singer, and in their interaction, he suddenly pulled out a gun and shot Grimmie 3 times.
I was traumatized. I didn't know what was going on.
I was in shock. I didn't know what to do.
Tragically, she died shortly after. Loibl would take his own life after being tackled by Christina's brother, Marcus.
Her brother's a hero for saving and stopping him for not hurting anyone else.
Rebecca Schaeffer. Schaeffer was an up-and-coming model and actress who's best known for starring in the mid-'80s sitcom My Sister Sam.
Brandon asked you out on a date? Yeah. Sam, that's hysterical. It is? I can't believe you actually thought he asked you out.
However, during this time, Robert John Bardo had begun stalking the actress, even showing up to the studios where My Sister Sam was filmed. Bardo became enraged after viewing Schaeffer's performance in scenes from the class struggle in Beverly Hills, due to a scene where she appears in bed with another actor. After finding her Hollywood address through a private investigator, Bardo showed up at her home and after a brief interaction was told to leave. He returned about an hour later and fatally shot Schaeffer. He was arrested, convicted of her murder, and sentenced to life imprisonment.
I accept full responsibility for what I've done. My thinking was so negative, and I was blaming others for things that was happening within me.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. John Lennon. The former Beatle was used to greeting fans outside his New York residence, so when Mark David Chapman asked Lennon to sign a copy of Double Fantasy, it was nothing out of the ordinary.
Then he wrote his name, John Lennon, and then underneath that, 1980. And he looked at me, as I mentioned earlier, he said, "Is that all? Do you want anything else?"
However, Chapman had developed feelings of resentment towards Lennon, whom he viewed as a phony due to the music star's lavish lifestyle while singing about people having no possessions on the song Imagine.
Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can.
He was also upset with Lennon's disbelief in God and his 1996 comment about the Beatles being bigger than Jesus. Chapman's obsession led him to fatally shoot Lennon on December 8, 1980, several hours after getting his autograph.
I don't know why I chose him exactly, but I was just fed up with the world, and I thought if I murdered this guy, then it would be all over for me.
Chapman was arrested and has since been imprisoned. Which celebrity stalker story creeps you out the most? Let us know in the comments.
Abram became obsessed with the Beatles. He was convinced Paul McCartney was a witch.